All right. I think we should be live here. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Awesemo Odds Betting Show. I am your host on this glorious Friday morning. I'm joined, as I always am, and with our usual compadre, Ben Raza and Nolan Kelly. Ben, start with you, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Happy holidays, everybody. Back in action. It's a good day, a busy one. We are now bowl season gets going. My favorite time, week 17 for the NFL. All the games are on Sunday. So, yeah, it's a fun time of the year, and we're getting to the end here.
Nolan, how you feeling today?
Little worse for wear. Little bit too much to drink last night, but you
It
know,
happens.
this is the season, right? I'm ready to slide back into the old 9 to 5 work days and get into the routine again. I feel like at the end of this week, it's just like, just dying a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's the holidays. You got New Year's coming up. It's the time. You got to enjoy yourself.
But I'm excited to hear. I've got my betting account open and I'm ready to just roll with whatever Ben tells me to do today for
Yeah.
college football.
Your Hawkeyes are playing. I
I
know you
know,
must
right?
be excited.
Time to fire. We'll definitely get to that game. We're also going to be live betting what Carolina Temple. That game just kicked off a few minutes ago.
It did, yeah. We'll see. It closed actually. Not that anyone really cares about this, but UNC took some money. It closed almost. I saw 6.5 out there right before kickoff. They steamed a bit.
Yeah, that was interesting. I did notice that too. Before we do get into, we'll start with our NFL picks, and then we'll definitely talk some college games. There's obviously a bunch today and a lot tomorrow with the two marquee games tomorrow night. But I do want to give a quick shout to our sponsor, EV Analytics. If you're looking for real-time odds, betting stats, all of your information you need, make sure to check out EV Analytics. Also, take a look at our site because we do host live odds through the EV Analytics platform. So if you're looking for odds for either betting or DFS, check it out on our site. We have a lot to talk about today. We have about 45 minutes, so we are going to probably go relatively quickly. It's week 17, boys. I don't know how we got here already, but we have. I guess my easy kind of words of wisdom would be very cautious when you're betting week 17. There's a
Yes.
lot that you need to unpack. It's not as simple as these lines might seem because some of these lines, if you're just looking at it in a vacuum, just seem way out of whack. And you
Yep.
have to really pay attention to the news. So a prime example, I don't know if you guys saw this morning that the Vikings, I think officially announced, although I don't know if it's actually official, that they're going to rest most of their guys. That line moved. I think I saw 3 or 4 points already this morning on a Friday morning. Like that just never happens. So it's a weird week.
I still think that line's going to move more. I was actually like, I don't know. Maybe it's not official yet, but like, I oh God, I'm an idiot. I thought the Bears were +3. There was
No,
like,
Bears are favored now.
No.
damn. I was like, why are the? Oh man, that was one of my picks. I got to go back to the drawing board here. I can't read. I was trying to figure out why the Bears were not favored at this game, and it turns out they are. So
Yeah.
They are indeed. That game has flipped. I mean, even as of yesterday, the Vikings, I think we're still a very small favorite. It was like a half point, 1 point, and now it's flipped all the way to Bears -3, it looks like right now. Uh, Ben, what are your thoughts going into week 17? You want to dive right in here? You have any words of wisdom for everybody?
No, just echo that. I mean, you said it. You're going to see. You just have to know the motivation on both sides before you bet anything, because there are teams. I mean, the Steelers are favored in Baltimore. The Bears are favored in Minnesota. And then on the other side, there are teams that are, super. We saw the Titans last week, desperate. They held out some players to get ready for this game. They're beyond all in against the Texans. So it is a weird, it almost has a preseason NFL feel where if you can get, indication of how long guys are going to play and who's playing, that can clear some of the cobwebs.
Yeah, it's really fluid. Like I think the most important thing to understand is how like the early games affect the late games. Prime example, you mentioned Tennessee. We're going to talk about the Chiefs playing earlier, which is going to affect the Texans potentially. There's a lot of moving parts here, and you really need to understand kind of the playoff scenarios, which teams are, I guess, outright resting players versus teams that are saying, it feels to me almost like week 3 of preseason, right? Like some of these teams,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to play like a half or maybe even not even a full half. It's really trying to digest that information because it is so key. It really does feel like the preseason.
Oh, it really does. And it's not my favorite week to bet. I'll be honest. I will say, and this is a different show probably, if you are in a contest, it's probably one of the softer weeks if you have stale lines, in my opinion, because there's
Yeah.
so many moving parts and so many teams have drastic changes from a Tuesday to a Sunday or whenever those lines are posted.
Yeah, and there's like I feel like if you're sharp and you know kind of how these playoff scenarios are going to go, the time to bet a lot of these lines, like when they first come out, I think you can get a pretty good edge. I mean, we're a little bit too late in the week for that now, but if you're thinking about it logically, like there's no reason why Minnesota's starters would be playing in that game, right? So yeah, I feel like that you can
Yeah.
take some risks and just kind of get ahead of the field in the off chance that the lines aren't going to be correct if one thing goes the other way, and if that thing doesn't go the other way, you're still looking at a normal line, right?
Yeah, I think you're going to see just drastic line movements. We've already seen it, like we talked about. Like there will be opportunities to middle and make some plays, but really, I don't know. To me, I'm just going to wait probably for a lot of these. I need to just see more news for a lot of these games. So we might as well just get into it. I don't know, Ben, do you want to start with your first pick for
Sure.
lovely week 17 here of the regular season / preseason?
So yeah, I'm going to stick with a team that I've been backing for a little while now. They are not the quote unquote motivated team, but they are very motivated, even though they're eliminated. It's the Broncos at home, 3.5, whatever you see on your screen there. I don't really care. They are at home against the Raiders, who somehow are still alive. They caught like 5 breaks. They still need a bunch of things to go right, but they are alive. I just think that Drew Lock has been, a jolt to this team. They're playing really good. Their loss against Kansas City in the snow, I didn't worry about that. They rebounded against a bad Lions team last week. One, convincingly they covered, and that's really where I'm backing them at home. The Raiders 2-5 on the road this year, just been bad, and I think this kind of is the final nail in the Raiders' coffin here. So I'll take the Broncos to finish the season actually in pretty impressive fashion.
Nolan, is that a game that you have circled at all? Have you taken a look at it?
No, I haven't really. I didn't really have any strong thoughts on that one, to be honest. But yeah, I agree with everything Ben said there. So yeah, sign me up. I'm with you.
I don't know if I want to pivot, but Denver is one of my 3 plays as well.
Come on board.
We're coming on board. Is the water warm? I'll come on
It's
board.
nice.
It is nice this time of year. I will echo all those sentiments too. I really like Denver here. There's a lot of trends, and I don't like to play trends unless I have a really strong reason to follow it. But some interesting numbers about like these must-win games, and it ends up being a really flat spot for these teams that it's a must-win spot, which is so counterintuitive and more against the spread than like actual winning. But here,
do we know that so the Oakland needs a Pittsburgh loss and a Tennessee loss and an Indy win? So like they're playing the late game, so there's a chance that they're already out by the time this game rolls around too, right?
What time is that Colts game? I know Tennessee and Pittsburgh are later games.
So that's a late game, Tennessee and Houston.
The Colts are late too.
The Colts are late too. I know the NFL tried to make it so it would make sense where there wouldn't be this scenario, but they obviously with the Chiefs and the Texans, they messed that up, and that's one game that I don't know. I definitely want to get your guys' opinion on that Texans Titans game, because that one is a really interesting line as well. But just to kind of close the loop on this one, so I like Denver a lot here for everything that Ben said. I think Denver is without question the better team of the two. The Raiders have somehow caught a few breaks and are still potentially alive to, I don't know how to get a playoff berth. You've got this news with Josh Jacobs this week, where we thought he was going to play. He had some procedure on his leg for an infection. I don't know what his status is. He may play, he may not. To me, I don't think it makes a huge difference. I think Denver is going to easily win this game.
Yes, I'm with you. It's a team that, like I said, Oakland just easy spot for me to fade. With them, I think it speaks more to the Chargers, how inept they were, than Oakland really doing anything. But that's where I'm at. So you're coming on with Denver with me here?
Yeah, I'm coming on board. I also saw Raiders are down a couple of offensive linemen, which obviously is a huge loss for them. They've been a good team running the ball, and that's been really the strength. So if you can take that away and make Derek Carr one-dimensional, my God.
Correct.
Good luck against a good Denver secondary and a good Denver defense in general. In Mile High, there's not going to be any Raiders fans. We saw last week that absolute
ridiculous
debacle against the Chargers. My God, I'm still tilted about that game.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, so we made our picks. No, did you give your first pick yet?
No, not yet. So
Okay.
I've only got 2 picks now because I'm an idiot. I thought the Bears were +3, so I'm not going to touch that
Where do
line
we
for
live in?
-3.
We'll give you an adjusted line if you want to pay that juice.
No, thank you. I've got the Chiefs -9.5, and like you said earlier on in the show, Jordan, there's a lot of moving parts with this week, and it's a really tough week to bet because this line to me seems low, but I think it's low because there's a chance that New England goes up big on Miami, and Kansas City has no real reason to play their starters in the second half or in the final quarter there. So. But I do like the Chiefs at this, and I'm like, if the Dolphins are able to keep it close, and I think maybe they will be because I don't really like the Patriots that much, but Mahomes has returned since he's returned from injury. They're 5-0. They have 3 wins over 20 points. Their defense is playing pretty well. Like I think it's probably one of the more underrated units in the league. They got a really good pass defense. They've got a strong blitz. Tyrann Mathieu has been amazing thus far and really kind of solidified the center of that defense. Chargers 1-5 in their last 6 ATS against the spread. So,
I think I've been on every game with them.
Me too. I think. Thanks for that needle, Nolan. Yeah, I keep betting the Chargers.
I've been betting the Chargers all damn year, and it's just like I've had enough. So I don't know. Everything I've seen from the Chargers so far, it's just like this team looks like they should be so much more talented and so much better than they are, and they're just not. I don't know what's missing, but I feel like it's one of these teams maybe that looks better on paper than they actually are because they have so many big name stars. I'm not a believer in their coaching staff either. I think they were weren't they the last team in the NFL to have an analytics person on staff? I don't even know if they still do. I think that maybe they hired one or something. But I don't love this bet. I'm a little bit worried about it, but I do think the line would be up in the 12.5 range if they weren't worried about starters. Maybe 11.5.
Yeah. I agree with you. This line does seem a little bit low, and I think that's kind of baked into the line is this uncertain situation, right? Like the Chiefs are going to have to be scoreboard watching, I think, to some degree with the Patriots, right? Because so those 2 games are early, right? So they're playing at the same time. You've got the Patriots as a 16-point favorite against Miami, which seems to me very high, but we may talk about that game further. If the Patriots are up double digits, 3 touchdowns, then like you said, Nolan, you may have this situation where they take Mahomes out in the second half. I guess that's the concern and the reason why the line isn't double digits. Ben, what do you think about this game?
I mean, no chance I would back the Chargers.
Agreed.
It's probably just a stay away from me if I had to take a position. Chiefs and Arrowhead, I don't mind laying the points of some of these big, teams. I have a spread that's over double digits that I like. It's just the risk you run. The Chiefs are in a gray area where, as we've talked about, depending on what happens and maybe they take their foot off the gas here and there, but I have no problem backing. I mean, the Chargers, the talent is there and it continued to suck me in, but they obviously are just a mess, and they've shown that time and time again.
Such a mess, and for them to go into Arrowhead to end the season, it just seems like such a horrible, I can't even say letdown because there's no high point, right? Like a letdown, I think, assumes that they were playing well or had a high point.
Yeah.
I think it's just like get me home kind of game. Like, let's end this disaster. Like Phillip Rivers, it seems like, is checked out, which I would never have expected him to kind of be that way. I don't know. It's been I thought last week was the week we're going to get I don't even want to go down this rabbit hole, but I thought the Chargers were going to show up last week. Obviously, just embarrassing. Total disaster.
Was that the one where was it 2 weeks ago that they were my lock of the week against the Vikings? Because that was my.
That was 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago, and they had 7 turnovers. That was a great game.
Yeah. Oh my God! Like you just never know if Rivers is gonna Rivers. That's the difficult part sometimes picking this team.
It really is. All right, Nolan. So you got the Chiefs. I think 9 is the current number, so we'll lock you in at 9. Do you want to give your second pick, and we can wrap it around?
Oh, sure. I'll give you my second pick here. I'll see if I can come up with one on the fly here as well. Mine is
Bears plus. Oh, sorry.
mine is just like I don't really have a lot of insight on this one. I just have noticed that there's a lot of reverse line movement on the Bengals +3 at home to the Browns. The Browns are 2-8 ATS against the Bengals in their last 10. Not that that's like predictive or anything, but just kind of like a sign that maybe these teams are a little bit closer. They play a little bit closer, division rival game. And I've just noticed that it's been bet down to 2.5 on a lot of sites. So I prefer to try and grab it. Like the sites I'm looking at right now have it at 2.5, but then you go over to some comparables. Looks like William Hill, DraftKings, and FanDuel all have this line at even money -3. So I would expect that to go if these other trends are indicative. It's probably going to drop down to -2.5 at some point. So I like grabbing the 3 points.
Ben, you want to talk about our love for the Browns?
The old Browns. I mean, you know, the Bengals have locked up the 1, so they can, not that they weren't trying, they're just bad, but they could try as hard as they want. If they win, it doesn't hurt them. It's a fair question, wondering, Cleveland hung on for a little longer. They were in dire straits, but of course now they're completely toast. Dysfunctional probably puts it lightly. What they're dealing with, it's a game I'm sure they have a little trouble getting up for. Baker did struggle, for what it's worth, against the Bengals the first time. I don't know exactly why that was per se, because Cincinnati's defense is bad. Over under 43. I don't have a strong take. The Bengals are in the jungle at home, so sure, getting a couple points +130. I see. If you want to dabble on that money line, if you think the Browns are truly checked out.
Yeah, and like banged up receivers. Jarvis Landry just came out this week's playing with I think a hip injury or something. So I don't know. I mean, I can see a scenario where Nick Chubb just goes ham on this horrible Bengals run defense. But they've been playing with a little bit of spark lately. That comeback last week was pretty impressive. So I feel like Dalton can still throw, and I actually don't hate their weapons. So I just think the Browns are not as bad as 1-14. Or sorry, the Bengals.
Yeah, I like the Bengals. I like the Bengals here. It's not one of my 3 picks, but I do like them a lot. I think the Browns have completely checked out. Like, that team is in just utter turmoil.
And that's
I think I saw Odell didn't even practice today. Not that I'm counting on him to do anything anyways.
It's a tough thing to quantify, but that's another thing. It's like it just feels like they don't care, and like they want Kitchens out, and Mayfield's, everyone's just done with this season. So
yeah, and like Ben said, I mean, they've locked up the number 1 pick. Even though they certainly were trying to win that game last week and had one of the most insane comebacks. I had sent a text with like 5 minutes left to one of my friends, because we had bet Miami in that game, saying, like, check that one off, and obviously we had to sweat that out. Still got there with a good line, but man, what an insane game last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the other side of that game. It almost was a miracle. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing in week 17. You're going to have a lot of matchups against, 2 teams that are both eliminated, and you just have to try to separate them if possible in terms of where they're at.
Ben, we got to take 2 seconds here and do a victory lap on the Browns. Their total for the season was 9 games. They were the favorite to win their division. You and I saw that. It's like one of our, I mean, obviously we missed on other things, and it's easy to pick out the ones that we were right on. But my God, I mean, what a disaster of a season.
Ben and I were on that too. We talked about the Ravens, betting the Ravens at like +300 at preseason, and that one worked out pretty well.
Yeah, there was some good, a lot of bad. Rams, shorting the Rams, which I know you wanted to do, Jordan. I was not. San Francisco was certainly a team that I know a lot of people like them. I was not sold that they could be good. They're pretty good, not too shabby.
Not bad, right?
Pretty good.
Pretty. But yeah, so that happens.
All right, let's bury the Browns. Let's get it done for the Bengals. Ben, do you want to give your second pick?
Sure. So I'm going to lay the points with Green Bay. I know it's a lot, 12.5, and they are on the road. But Detroit has been a project of mine in terms of shorting. They've lost 8 straight. They have absolutely nothing going for them. everybody is hurt. It's just a lost season. It's been like that since Stafford went down. Green Bay needs this game. They want to get a bye. If the Niners lose, and that's very possible, Green Bay will have home field throughout. They have plenty to play for. I don't, the way they're running the ball, with Snacks Harrison on it, they're going to run it down their throat. They're inside. The Packers should hang. They hung 42 the first time. The problem was they gave up 30. This Detroit team's not scoring 30 points ever again. So if the Packers have another good offensive output, I think they just win this game absolutely going away.
And the good point that you made is that the Packers will not know the results, right? Like that game is at night, the Seattle,
absolutely. So that's
San Francisco game. Yeah, so they absolutely have total motivation to win this game and just crush the Lions. Nolan, is this something? Have you looked at this game? You got a lean here?
Actually, that was going to be that was in the contention for one of my picks. I love this call. I think the Lions. Speaking of teams that are toast, I think the Lions are just kind of done mailing it in. And like you said, Green Bay has something to play for at home. This line's moving up as well. I think most of the money is going onto the Packers right now. I think it's moved like 2.5 points or something, right?
Yeah.
So and I think there's a little there's a little reverse line movement as well. So 58% of the money, 40% of the bets. That's on the lines. That's been pushed the line up to 12.5. So I like the Packers here. I think 12.5. It's you can probably. I don't think it's going to cross 14. So or get up to 13.5. Maybe. Do you guys think it's probably going to stay here? Or?
I don't know those numbers you're looking at, Nolan. I mean, that's reverse line movement the other way, but I don't know. I'm not backing the Lions. I'll tell you that much. For me, it's either Green Bay or pass. Cause I just don't want any part of this Lions team. And I don't know. You think Kerryon Johnson's going to play in this game and get 25 carries?
Normally, I would say no, but with them, you just never. Not that that's going to help them, but they are just as illogical as how he's even back makes. I mean, they might as well bring Stafford back with his broken back. I mean, just they are just awful, and they should just pack it in. I do think ultimately, though, they just don't have the personnel. Even if they force some of these guys out there, with Green Bay being so balanced, it wasn't a demolition, but at the same time, they dominated Minnesota in Minnesota. That is an underrated, possibly premier win of the whole season. No one had beat them in there, and they handled them very easily.
You have any Green Bay futures, Ben?
I have I have a little more on to win the NFC. I have a slight position on them to win the Super Bowl. I got it not at the beginning of the year. I think like week 5, I want to say something in the first quarter of the season, but nothing too crazy. But I would love to see them secure home field.
Yeah, it's hard to say a team with Aaron Rodgers is kind of under the radar, but it does seem like nobody is really talking about the Packers. Like they have a legit chance to get home field here. Like that Seattle San Francisco game is quite fascinating. I don't know if it's any of your guys' picks for this week, but I would like to talk about it because that is a really interesting game. Why don't I give my second pick here, just because we do need to get through these games so we can talk some college too. I was kind of going back and forth. There's a few games that I'm obviously waiting to see what happens. I think the game that I want to use as my second pick is going to be I'm going to go back to the well with the Jets. It's not a spot that I would typically want to be betting the Jets on the road against the Bills. But the Bills are one of these teams that are locked in. They're locked in at the 5 seed. Sorry, they're locked in at 5. It sounds like Josh Allen's going to play, but they don't know how long. So again, you're kind of counting, is he going to play a half? Is he going to play a quarter? I don't know. A lot of money coming in on the Jets. In real life, I already took this, so I've got a better number than what it is now. Right now, I think the Jets are getting 1.5.
Yeah, that's what I
said. That line opened 4.5, so it's come down 3 full points, crossed 3, obviously, which tells you a lot. A lot of money coming in on the Jets. Jets, are they motivated? Sure. I mean, they're definitely playing better. Le'Veon had a great game last week. I love that spot last week against Pittsburgh. I don't think it's a letdown spot at all because they're motivated. It's a division matchup. They can't really affect anything with the Bills, but I think you're going to get a good effort from them. And I'm kind of just counting on the Bills to check out at some point in this game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. That's another one that I looked at, and I think it's the same thing. Like, did you touch on this already? It looks like Josh Allen may not play, and John Brown may not play.
Yeah,
they have nothing to play for.
they're locked in.
Yeah, so like I think that's part of it. I mean, the problem, like why I was a little bit scared of it is it's not like Buffalo. It's like, are they going to rest their entire defense? It's like the strength of this team is that it's a good team and they're good all around. And so resting one or two key players, like yeah, that's going to move the line. But if you know, they almost have to rest like a lot of players on defense for this to really affect things, right? So, but I think like I like where your head's at, right? Like the Jets. You know, when teams don't have anything to play for and there's a chance they're going to be resting starters, I don't know why you wouldn't want to grab the Jets in this spot at home as well, right? No, in Buffalo.
No, in Buffalo, yeah. Which
but
not
low
ideal,
total,
but
low total, and like it's probably going to be pretty close. So
yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game. Yeah, I don't know. They may end up benching some starters or just take them out after the first half, something like that. I mean, the Ravens, I know we're going to not play some of their defensive players. Kind of they're in a similar spot, right? Like they've clinched. That's an interesting game. Like I could still see the Ravens winning that game. I don't care how many guys are out of that game. I think they could still beat the Steelers, but I don't know if that's my third pick. I guess I should give my third pick since we're going to wrap it around here. Ben, did you give a second pick? Did you give your second pick, Ben?
I did. I took the Packers.
That's right. I'm running on fumes this morning. Sleep much.
It's that time of year.
We're all good. We're here.
I wish I had a better reason, like Nolan, like I was drinking all night or something.
Yeah, what's my excuse?
Okay, so let me give my third pick. So for my third game, I'm gonna go. I think I'm just gonna go with the Giants. This is one that I want to get more information on. It looks like Jordan Howard is going to play, although to me that doesn't make a huge difference. Eagles have to win, so it's a spot where I kind of like fading that motivation again. You know, there's a lot of data, like I said before, about these teams coming out flat when they have an absolute must win. You know, the Eagles didn't look great last week against the Cowboys, but obviously they got the job done. I feel like they're going to come in. It's in New York. They're going to coast in here and think they could easily win this game. I just like the way Daniel Jones is playing. He had a huge game last week. Obviously, Saquon seems to be playing well. He's had a great couple of weeks here. You know, it's tough to run against the Eagles, but you can throw on them. And the Giants do have weapons. Like they have good receivers. Obviously, they have Saquon. It's just too many points. Like this line is obviously inflated because the market is going to bet the Eagles because it is a must win. So in real life, I'm going to wait on this game because I think the line is going to continue to move in the Eagles' direction as it gets to Sunday. But this is a spot that I just think the Giants are going to end up getting too many points, and I just want to take them here at home.
That's my pick too. So
I
hope the Eagles win the game. I have a feeling the Cowboys are still going to get in though. They're going to kill the Redskins. There's no way they lose at home. This is a brutal spot for the Eagles. Like Ertz, broken ribs. They say he's going to play, but man, on the road, they've been in must-win mode. They've been getting it done, but the Giants are the type of team. They have some firepower with Daniel Jones.
Giants are frisky.
They are. They're a tough out. You know, they're motivated. There's no doubt they would love to end the Eagles here. So it's a type of game. Of course, can the Eagles win? Yeah, they're favored to win. But man, you give me 4.5. I will gladly take the home dog here that I think is very live to actually knock Philly out after the big win last week.
I love it. Like that call. That's another one.
I hate the Cowboys.
Really?
Yeah, not a fan.
I grew up a 49ers fan and like I hate them instinctively, but like I kind of like this team a little bit, you know? Like I kind of almost feel bad for them right now. And like I like the makeup of their team. I like a lot of the guys on it.
Who? On the Cowboys?
Yeah, I kind of like them. But you know, I think
Gallup had 99 yards last week in like the second quarter, and he ended with 99. That sums up my relationship with the Cowboys.
But the other thing is like Dak's got the shoulder injury too, right? So
he does.
He missed so many guys in that Eagles game. They had a lot of open receivers downfield because you can throw on the Eagles. And my God, he just missed everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just go with my. I'm scrambling. I'll just go with my agree with Ben on the Packers there for my third one.
Yeah, come on in.
Mm.
If they can't, that is just a perfect spot. And Jordan mentioned this, but it's worth saying again. The Niners game is at night. So for them, they are going to take care of business and then they will see where they fall. And even if the Niners win, it's not like the game wouldn't like they need to not mess around because of the Saints as well. So, Green Bay has a ton to play for on their own. And it's the Lions who, in the power rankings of ineptitude, they're down there with the Raiders and the Jaguars, and then the Chargers are in a different category, but the Lions are down there as well.
Yep.
That is for certain. So do you guys have any thoughts? We've mentioned the 49ers Seahawks game a lot. It was flexed to the night game. It's a standalone game. Every other game will be over. So much money is coming in on the Niners on the road in Seattle. Seattle has so many injuries that they're dealing with. What do you guys think about this game?
I'm a little bit worried about it from a 49ers perspective, just because they've had so much trouble in Seattle, and like Russell Wilson just seems to, for whatever reason, have their number. And then as well, this defense, like, it's banged up a little bit. They've been missing DBs. Kwan Williams was out. I think he's going to be back. Jaquiski Tart, Richard Sherman. They've lost Quan Alexander possibly for the season. D Ford. So like this 49ers defense has not been elite for a few weeks now, and it's kind of flown under the radar. I think people are finally catching on to the fact that they haven't been great. At the same time, the offense has kind of taken a step forward, right? Like Deebo Samuel looks like a weapon, and they just have so many different ways that they can beat you on offense. So I think that I lean towards the 49ers side of things here. 3.5 is a bit of a hefty price to pay, though, because it's in Seattle, and I do not have any faith in the 49ers beating the Seahawks in Seattle. So for me, it's a stay away, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
I hate
Ben,
this.
what do you think?
Get this division out of here. It's one of those, and I don't know. In my mind, I do this all the time where I'm like, this might be the classic, like, double. It feels like trappy, but then it might be the double reverse. And I actually think I like the Niners, even though that seems like the public side. Because I think everybody is kind of thinking, like, oh, Niners road favorite in Seattle. They ran out of running backs. Marshawn Lynch is back. I don't think any of that's going to play. I think the Niners actually win the game pretty handily. I'm not sure. These are double smoke and mirrors. I don't like either of these teams, obviously, but I trust, as Nolan just said, they've got guys. I mean, when you look at Kittle and Samuel and the stable of running backs, Jimmy G isn't nearly as good as the top end quarterbacks, but he's not bad enough where it's a liability either.
He's getting better as the season's gone on. I think.
I mean, it's been impressive when the injuries went down. Yeah, they had a bad stumble against the Falcons, but they're starting to get a little healthier on the defensive side. If they can just patch it together, they still have the rush. I think that the Niners do their part and hold serve here.
Yeah, that game was only 2 weeks ago, that Atlanta game, which kind of like, sticks in my memory. And I don't know. Seahawks are getting a little bit healthier on defense. It sounds like Clowney and I think Shaq Griffin are going to play.
Yeah.
They've also had a ton of injuries on defense. And
offensive line, too, they're a little bit banged up. Patty and their starting center, Joey Hunt, are questionable. I think they're probably at this point good to go. But Quandre Diggs as well has been injured. Like, they've got they're reeling right now for sure. And as well, like, San Fran has way more on the line here. Like, if San Fran wins, they get a bye. If Seattle wins, I believe they can't get a bye, right? But they get the division, and then they get to host Minnesota or something, which means, is it Minnesota that host? Yeah, because
the Niners will be on the road in a wild card game, I believe, if they lose.
Yes, they'll go to 5.
The Niners would go to Philly.
Yep.
And the Seahawks would host the Vikings. And then, like, so if they lose this game, it's like, wouldn't you rather just go to Philly? Like, I don't know.
Rather be resting.
I think you'd rather be at home resting. Yeah, I agree.
But they don't. But the Seahawks can't get the bye, I don't think.
No, the Seahawks. No, I don't think they can unless something crazy happens.
So that's because I think the Packers hold the tiebreaker with New Orleans. I can't. I have so many moving parts, but
go Pack, go. The moral of the story, is that you don't want to be playing at wild card weekend. Everybody knows that. That's a guarantee. And the worst thing of playing wild card weekend is playing on the road, and that's where the Niners could end up. Even though I think they will handle whoever comes out of the NFC East, that's just bad. And then you're going to possibly have to go up to the Tundra or the Superdome. Just miserable.
Okay, I got it in front of me here, just so we're clear. Basically, they have a strong likelihood they won't be playing for a bye because they need a Green Bay loss. So they do hold the tiebreak over Green Bay, I guess. But none of us are seeing the Green Bay losing to the Lions. So.
Right, and again, they will know what has happened already in that game going into this spot.
Exactly,
which is key.
What would you rather play if you're Seattle? Would you rather play Minnesota at home, or is that what they would be? Would they be at home? Sure.
Who?
Seattle?
No, Seattle would have to go to Green Bay or New Orleans. No.
Seattle
will be on the road. It depends, right? Like what happens, but they'll probably be. I think they end up at 5, right? That seems like the most likely.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
The division winners always have. So, like, even though the Cowboys or the Eagles are terrible, they will be hosting.
So it would be Philly and whoever finishes in the second spot or in the third spot between Green Bay and New Orleans.
Yeah, but it's just bad. And then, like, of course, you're going to play the 1 most likely.
Yeah, exactly. Ton of moving parts. We got about 10 minutes, so we got to talk some college, Ben, because there's so much going on. Do you want to pick a couple of games today or tomorrow? How do you want to? What are the best games that you're looking at to target this weekend?
I'll just say this, and then I'll dive into it. There's 40 bowl games. The playoff games are tomorrow. There's like 30 bowls after the playoffs. I really don't remember it being like that. So tomorrow is like the day. We've got Oklahoma and LSU. We've got Clemson and Ohio State. So obviously, I'll talk about them in 1 second. We've got 4 games set to kick off today. I mean, naturally, I should just probably tout UNC scoring first, considering that already happened, and maybe people don't know.
Great call. Wow.
Yeah, look at that. 7-0. Put it on the board. So, Jordan, I know you like this spot. I am with you with Wake Forest. That's the next game in Yankee Stadium, the old Pinstripe Bowl. But Wake Forest, 4-point dogs. They just got a little healthier. Jamie Newman, the quarterback, is good to go. Scotty Washington, I believe, is going to play. They still have some major losses that won't be playing, but when this offense is going, they just have a super dynamic quarterback. He's a red zone threat. He can get it going. Michigan State, on the same token, they have guys coming back. It's just been a bad year for them. I really just don't think that they should be favored. To me, it's a pretty easy coin toss type game. So I'm just going to take the 4 that I see. It was 4.5 before I got on the show with Wake in a game that I wouldn't be stunned to see them win outright.
Yeah, like you said, that line is already moving down since I think we've started because I'm seeing 4s kind of across the board. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched. I think you could easily argue that Wake might be the better team. They played a softer schedule in general, but I think you saw a lot of just bad losses by Michigan State. Like, I don't know what their motivation is going into this. And you hit the nail on the head for me. Like, if Washington is playing, Jamie Newman is for sure playing. They have an explosive offense.
They do.
Yeah. Washington has missed the last 4 games. Before he went out, the team was 7-1. You can't quite draw like a complete through line there, but obviously having him on the field makes a huge difference for this team. And they can just put up a ton of points. And I don't think Michigan State wants to get into that kind of game here.
No,
I really like that.
Is just a team too. They have no identity. Like when they started the year, it was like, okay, they're not going to be good on offense, but they're just going to be an elite defensive team. Then their defense actually was atrocious, and they were trying to outscore teams. Then they became anemic on offense, and they were just awful. So I don't even know what to make of them with Lewerke and whoever else they have going. It's just a bad team. I will say they are somewhat crafty, and they're known to do some things here and there, but I'm just going to back Wake. Like I said, if this was Pick'em, I probably would just hold off. But if you're going to give me 4.5, I'll just take that and move on here.
I agree.
There's one more game today, and then I just want to talk about the playoff games. And we got friend of the show in chat. Sean is he's on the old Cougs tonight. This just is a great game. If you can stay up at 10:15 Eastern, the Cheez-It Bowl. We got Washington State and Air Force. The over-under is 70. Washington State throws the ball. I don't have numbers in front of me, but it's got to be 55, 60 times a game.
Oh yeah.
Their quarterback throws, for 500 yards. That's not out of the realm. Air Force is an academy. Obviously, they basically only run the ball. When they do pass, it actually is incredibly effective. They average like 30 yards a pass because when they do it, these guys are wide open. But the most conflating styles, I just can't wait to see an Air Force team go against the Washington State front that can't stop anybody. They should run for 300, 400, 500 yards. And then you have Washington State. It's going to be throwing it all over the place, trying to keep up. I don't know exactly which style is going to win out. To me, Air Force, if I was Air Force, I would try to take the air out of the ball, play methodical, have like 6-7 minute drives, and just really gash them and keep the Cougars off the field. So for me, if I lay the points, I probably will parlay it with the under. And I could see that being pretty effective.
Just to hammer home that point that you made, Ben, the Air Force quarterback has 99 attempts on the entire season.
But he's pretty good.
He is good. You can compare that to Gordon for Washington State, has 647 pass attempts.
I mean, that's even more ridiculous.
What happened in that Army and Navy game the other day? Where do you have one passing attempt?
Yeah, I mean, I will say Air Force, they've got some receivers that can do some things. But you just mentioned it. I mean, less than 100 passing attempts on the year. And then Washington State, that's absurd.
647.
I mean, think about that. That's in 12 games?
Yep.
So that's like 55?
Yeah, 50-ish.
Yeah, that's insane. And that's what they do. It's a plug and play. We saw it with Gardner Minshew. We've seen it with whoever is the quarterback at Washington State. And Gordon has been very effective. He's a great play in DFS. If you are playing DFS, this is a game to look to. The other two games are Oklahoma State and A&M. Weird game. It looks like Sanders is going to play in USC Iowa. That's Nolan's house account. We'll see what his Hawkeyes can do.
What I'm doing here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good game. I want to see what Slovis can do. Iowa, obviously, physical, hard-nosed team. But tomorrow.
Ben, real quick, Ben, I want to ask you a question because I was reading, trying to dig into this a little more about air raid offenses and how bad they've historically done in bowl games. And the theory, I guess, being that the time off is a really negative influence for air raid because they rely so much on timing and being in sync with the receivers, and that a lot of these air raid offenses like Washington State, like USC, just don't perform with time off. It was really interesting to try and if there's just outliers there or if there's an actual real trend.
So I think there's something to that. I think it's the other Luke Falk. Thank you, Mike. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name. I'm just a moron, but I think it's a double-edged sword too. You don't really prepare for something like that. And when you have weeks off, you can kind of tailor yourself. And you could say the same thing about an option attack, but I'll say this. With an option attack, if you don't have the personnel, it doesn't really matter. Like last year, Houston played Army in the bowl game. They didn't have the personnel. Ed Oliver sat out, and Army rushed for 700 yards. With an air raid offense, it is more about timing. And I think Air Force will be pretty ready for it. Doesn't mean they're going to stop it, but I think there is something to that.
Yeah. I kind of like Iowa just going to, they might be able to slow down the air raid, even though clearly they've never faced that in the Big Ten, but it's just interesting dynamic when you have these, you have a few weeks to prepare for an air raid. All right, Ben, we got a few more minutes. Let's talk about there's a bunch of games tomorrow, but obviously we want to talk about the two marquee games.
Yeah. I mean, the first one, I think LSU is going to roll them. I really do. That spread is moving like wildfire. I got it before it hit 14. Oklahoma's their defense is better. It's not as bad as it was, but they lost a key safety with a broken collarbone. They've got guys suspended. Yeah. They're just making a task that was going to be really tough that much harder. Joe Burrow's quite good. He's going to be a Bengal apparently. So we will see. They just have too many weapons. I don't know. Keep an eye if you're playing, Edwards-Helaire, hamstring. I honestly don't think he's going to play, but regardless, LSU is just going to, the over under 76. So I'd imagine LSU will hang 50 on them. We'll see what Hurts can do. The one thing I will say, LSU's defense is truly not, they're okay, but they're not an LSU defense of old. They've got some guys in the secondary. Delpit, Stingley is going to be an absolute monster, but you can score on them. Its problem is, can you score 50 points? I don't know if you could do that. And the way this offense is, Burrow is just unbelievable.
Do you think so? If Edwards-Helaire doesn't play, does that affect anything for you? Because it sounds like it's a real questionable kind of 50-50 for him. Does that change your opinion, or you think it's just more opportunity for Burrow to light him up?
Yeah, I think in this game they'll be fine. I will say if he's not back, whoever, especially if it's Clemson, that game is going to be wild. We'll find out. I think everybody is wondering, is Clemson's played nobody. You mentioned it just before with Wake Forest. Like Wake Forest was in the upper, that was like the big game for Clemson. I mean, they've played absolutely no one all year. They were sluggish. They were sleepy. After they almost lost to North Carolina, they woke up. They beat everybody just unmercifully lately. Yeah. Obviously, they haven't played anyone like Ohio State, though.
So any thoughts on that final semifinal, which kind of feels almost like a national championship game,
really
like Clemson,
does.
Ohio State?
I mean, so I wanted to back Ohio State. Things that worry me, one, Fields is, I'm not saying he's not good, but he's got a little knee issue, which I don't
he's
love.
Banged up, yeah.
And he really hasn't been tested either. Now, if there's one thing we know about Clemson, Trevor Lawrence is going to be fine. He has 2 first-round NFL-ready wide receivers in Higgins and Justin Ross. He has an all-American running back in ETN. He's got other dudes. Not that he needs them. They're going to be fine on offense. The question mark about Clemson is they lost a full first-round defensive line. All of those guys went in like the top 20, the full line. They replaced them with top prospects, but I don't know how effective they're going to be against Ohio State's front. I think if Ohio State wins the game, they run it down their throat. Dobbins would be the guy for me, not Fields. I think they need like a 200-yard rushing performance to keep pace. But if I had to take a position on the game, and I probably will, it's going to be Clemson. I just think they're just too strong on offense with Lawrence and these receivers. I don't know how you stop both of them.
I don't either. This might be a live game. Kind of see how it starts off to see if you can get a feel for it. I think both these teams are really well coached. I think you're going to have a lot of adjustments throughout the game. It's the one game, obviously, I want to see probably more than any of these games.
I can't wait.
That's not saying much, but
I mean, Lawrence has never lost. I know that's not a big deal, but at the same time, like Clemson, it's insane. They're the defending champs. They went undefeated, and they're the 3 seed. And I think they should have been. I totally get it. But when you step back, they might just be far and away the best team again. And I wouldn't be stunned to see them, come out pretty motivated and ready to play.
Yeah, I feel like we could have gone a full hour just on these college games easily.
I will be in Slack, just for everybody. I have articles posted and ready to go on the DFS side and on the betting side, breaking this all down. So hop in Slack. Of course, if you haven't signed up and you want to, we have a promo code. We do Awesemo odds, all one word, 50% off that first week. Get in there, check it out. It's a really fun time of the year, so we hope to see everyone in there.
Yeah, exactly. Just to echo those sentiments, make sure to check out all the articles that Ben is writing, and we'll all be in Slack talking about the college games. I know we have the Yahoo NFL Strategy Show coming up with, it's you two guys, Ben and Nolan. So I guess I need to get out of here. You guys can just take over, talk some Yahoo strategy. I'm going to go watch the bowl game that's currently playing and get some more bets in for the weekend. Everybody, good luck. Obviously, like we said, be cautious with the NFL. There's a lot of moving parts here, so make sure you got a good handle as to who's playing and who isn't and who's motivated. And good luck this weekend.
Take care.